There's a strange phenomenon that happens when you finally stop clinging, not in the careless, give-up-on-everything kind of way, but in the quiet, soul-freeing way that unhooks you from the invisible chains of pressure, fear, and constant control. Because here's the wild truth. Most of the pain in your life isn't caused by what's happening. It's caused by how tightly you're holding on. You only lose what you cling to. Think about that. The job, the relationship, the identity you're trying so hard to protect. They're draining you because you've made them part of your survival. But what if letting go wasn't weakness, but wisdom? What if that's when everything finally falls into place? If you've ever felt like you're doing everything right and still feel stuck, anxious, invisible, this is for you. Stick around. There's a bonus lesson at the end that might just shatter everything you thought you knew. And if you get anything from this video, just get that. That's all you need to know in life. Number 1, the illusion of control and why letting go works. What if your constant effort to control everything is exactly what's making life so hard? We spend our days clenching, mentally gripping outcomes, people, plans, hoping that if we just hold tight enough, life won't fall apart. But here's the paradox. The tighter you hold sand in your hand, the faster it slips through your fingers. Control feels safe, predictable, but in reality, it's the ego's most convincing illusion. Let go or be dragged. It's not just a quote. It's a survival instruction, because the truth is, control doesn't give you freedom. It gives you fear, fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of not being enough unless everything goes exactly as planned. In Buddhism, there's a principle called non-attachment. It doesn't mean apathy. It means allowing life to move without chaining it to your expectations. You don't own this moment. You're only here to experience it. And the more you force it, the more it resists you. Think about your own life. How much energy have you wasted overthinking, micromanaging, clinging to relationships, already drifting, or worrying about what hasn't even happened yet? And still, it didn't give you peace. It gave you pressure. Now imagine this. For one day, you stop interfering. You stop trying to control every detail. Instead of over-planning the perfect day, you breathe, you observe, and you respond. Not react, respond. With calm, not control. Ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I let go right now? Most of the time, the answer isn't danger, it's discomfort. And discomfort is the doorway to growth, the job you didn't get. Maybe it wasn't meant for your path, the relationship that ended. Maybe it was a chapter, not a destination. Life is always trying to guide you, but we're too busy resisting to hear it. When you let go, things don't fall apart. They fall into place. Not always the place you imagined, but often the place you needed. Because surrender isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the strength to trust the flow rather than fight the current. Practice this. The next time you feel yourself mentally tightening, stop, breathe, ask, is this worth the weight I'm carrying? Then loosen your grip. Allow, trust. Watch what unfolds when you stop trying to manage every second. A monk once said, "Peace is not found in a place without noise, trouble, or hard work. It is found in the midst of those things when the mind is calm. That calm doesn't come from control. It comes from trust." What if letting go is how you finally find peace? What if the version of you you're trying to force isn't the one you're becoming? And what if surrender is the most powerful move you'll ever make? Remember this, if you want to fly in the sky, you need to leave the earth. If you want to move forward, you need to let go of the past that drags you down. Let go, let life meet you, and watch what falls into place. 2. The paradox of detachment. It makes you more powerful. What if the very thing you're clinging to is what's holding you back? We live in a world obsessed with outcomes, chasing goals, validating worth, measuring success in numbers. But the more tightly we pull on the string, the more we lose altitude. A kite doesn't rise by force, it rises when released. That's the paradox of detachment. The moment you stop needing something, you start attracting it. To let go is to gain control in a different way. It sounds backward, but it's deeply aligned with Buddhist wisdom. Detachment isn't about giving up, it's about showing up fully, mindfully, and without fear of what might happen next. When you're detached, you're not disconnected, you're just no longer imprisoned by the craving for control. In Buddhist thought, attachment is the root of suffering, not because wanting something is wrong, but because needing it to define you is. Detachment, then, is not apathy, it's freedom. It's acting from clarity, not desperation, from truth, not fear. Think about your own path. Maybe you've poured everything into a career move, a relationship, a dream, and the more you tried to force it, the more it slipped away. You stayed up late obsessing over outcomes. You replayed conversations, reworked plans, redoubled your effort. But instead of peace, you felt pressure. Instead of clarity, confusion. Why? Because your power doesn't come from the grip, it comes from your presence. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop clinging. You shift your focus from "will this work?" to "is this true for me?" That one question changes everything, because now you're not reacting out of fear, you're responding from alignment. Practice this. Set your intentions clearly, but release the outcome. Speak with honesty, not manipulation. Show up to your work, your relationships, your dreams, not with expectation, but with sincerity. And then step back. Trust that what's meant for you will unfold in its own time. Meditate on impermanence. Watch your thoughts and emotions rise and fall like waves. Nothing stays, not even pain. The moment you realize this, you start living lighter. You begin to move with life, not against it. Ask yourself, am I pushing too hard for something that should unfold naturally? Often, what we force fails. What we allow grows. It's not weakness to surrender, it's wisdom. It's understanding that control is an illusion, but presence is power. What have you really gained by clinging too tightly? More peace or more pain? More clarity or more chaos? And what if, just what if, letting go is the shortcut to everything you've been chasing? Remember, the seed doesn't bloom because you scream at it to grow. It blooms when you give it space. Detachment doesn't disconnect you. It positions you for power, real power, the kind that flows from authenticity, not anxiety. So stop gripping, loosen the string, let your kite rise, let go, and let life lift you. 3. How overthinking repels what you want. You think you're being productive, but really, you're just stuck in your head. Overthinking disguises itself as problem solving. It promises clarity, but delivers chaos. Like stirring muddy water, the more you spin your thoughts, the cloudier everything becomes. A pond clears itself when you stop disturbing it, and so does your mind. In silence, everything becomes clear. But silence scares us. Stillness feels like failure in a world addicted to hustle. So we obsess, replay, forecast, and analyze, convinced that one more thought will unlock the answer. But it never does. Because overthinking doesn't come from wisdom, it comes from fear. In Buddhism, the monkey mind is the name given to our restless, jumping thoughts, always grabbing, always fearing, always doubting. The mind seeks control through thought. But true clarity doesn't arise from more noise. It arises when the noise fades. Have you ever noticed the answers often come not while thinking, but when you've finally stopped, in the shower, on a walk, during a quiet moment of surrender. It's because you created space, and that space allowed wisdom to rise. We all crave peace, but we try to think our way to it, and that's the trap. Peace isn't something you chase, it's what's left when you stop chasing. Practice this. The next time your thoughts spiral, don't dive deeper. Interrupt the pattern, close your eyes, inhale peace, exhale the story. One breath, fully taken, can do more than 100 thoughts. Ask yourself, am I thinking or avoiding? There's a difference. Sometimes thinking becomes a shield from feeling, from making a decision, from facing the unknown. But life moves when you move, not when you overanalyze every turn. Set boundaries with your thoughts. If you're stuck on a decision, give yourself a deadline. Don't let it bleed into paralysis. Clarity loves decisiveness. Even a small action disrupts the mental loop. Trust simplicity, that quiet gut feeling you keep brushing aside. It's not weakness, it's wisdom, but you can't hear it while overthinking shouts over it. What would happen if you stopped fixing and just started feeling? Feeling the discomfort, feeling the fear, letting it pass like a wave instead of trying to control it with logic. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all, not in apathy but in awareness, in presence. Because the moment you stop resisting the present moment, it begins to speak to you, and that's where guidance lives. Are your thoughts helping or holding you hostage? This is your reminder that your mind is a tool, not your master, and tools only work when you learn when to put them down. So stop stirring, let the pond clear, let silence rise, and you may just find everything you've been seeking has been waiting there beneath the noise the whole time. Peace isn't out there, it's what's left when you let go. 4. Why caring too much backfires? Sometimes we care so much, we crush the very thing we're trying to protect. We smother dreams with perfectionism, relationships with expectations, and our own peace with pressure. It feels noble, this deep caring, but often it's fear in disguise. The fear of losing control, the fear of not being enough, the fear of not being loved unless we constantly prove our worth. But just like a flame, love and purpose grow only when they have air. Caring deeply doesn't mean clinging desperately. You've probably felt it, the heavy weight of holding everything together, for everyone, all the time. You say yes when you're exhausted. You try to manage others' emotions. You take responsibility for problems that were never yours to fix. It feels like compassion, but it's actually over-responsibility. And that doesn't lead to connection, it leads to burnout. In Buddhism, loving kindness isn't about control, it's about presence. Being with someone, or even yourself, without fixing, forcing, or managing. Letting people breathe, letting life breathe. When you truly care, you create space, and in that space, growth happens. Ask yourself, am I trying to be everything for everyone? It's not your job to be the healer, the pleaser, the perfect one. That's ego dressed as service. Real compassion begins when you allow people to live their own journeys, even when it's messy, even when it's not how you would choose. Let go of the need to be understood all the time. Let go of trying to control how someone sees you. When your worth is tied to external validation, your care becomes conditional, subtle, but heavy. And that's not love, that's fear pretending to be love. Reframe care as presence. Sit with someone without offering advice, support without solving. Allow yourself to rest without guilt. Care for yourself, not because you're trying to be better, but because you're already worthy. Release anxious attachment, the constant checking, the fear of being forgotten, the overthinking after every conversation. That's not intuition, it's insecurity. and that insecurity will sabotage your peace if you don't meet it with awareness. What would happen if you stopped trying to manage everything? If you trusted that people could survive without your constant intervention, that situations could resolve without your control? You'd be lighter, freer. And ironically, your relationships would deepen because they'd be built on trust, not tension. Not everything is yours to carry. You're allowed to care without controlling, to love without losing yourself, to give without grasping. Are you truly caring, or are you managing others with good intentions? This is your invitation to stop trying so hard. You don't need to be perfect to be loved. You don't need to overgive to be valuable. Let the flame breathe. Let your soul breathe. Let go. Not because you don't care, but because you finally understand what real care looks like. And when you do, everything, peace, clarity, connection, begins to fall into place. 5. What happens when you stop seeking validation? You were not born to be approved. You were born to be authentic. But somewhere along the way, applause became oxygen. The likes, the praise, the nods of approval. They started to feel like proof that you're enough. And slowly, without realizing it, your peace became tied to someone else's opinion. But here's the truth. A mountain doesn't need approval to stand tall. It just stands, unmoved, unshaken, whole. The constant chase for validation is silent but exhausting. You might dress it up as ambition, as being driven, but if your self-worth crumbles when someone disapproves, that's not drive, that's dependence. And it's keeping you from your full power. Because when you live for applause, you become a performer in your own life, always asking, was that good enough? Do they like me? But validation is a moving target. It changes with trends, with moods, with people's projections. How can you build a stable life on such shaky ground? Buddhism teaches us that freedom comes not from being liked, but from being real. When you release the craving for approval, something sacred happens. You begin to hear your own voice again. You start living in alignment, not performance. You do things not for recognition, but because they're true for you. Ask yourself, who am I when no one's watching? If no one clapped, if no one noticed, would you still do what you love? Would you still speak your truth? Would you still show up? You are enough without applause. You are valid even in silence. And that's the shift. When you stop outsourcing your worth, you stop living in fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of being invisible. And in that fearless space, creativity flows, courage rises, purpose returns. Try this. Each day validate yourself. Not with ego, but with truth. Name 3 things you did well, just for you. Maybe you showed up despite the fear. Maybe you set a boundary. Maybe you rested without guilt. Let those moments be enough. And the next time someone praises or criticizes you, observe it without clinging. Don't let it define you. Praise and criticism are just weather patterns. They pass. Your essence doesn't change because of them. Step into solitude, not loneliness. Solitude. The space where no one else's opinion echoes. That's where the real you waits. The one who knows what to do, the one who doesn't need permission to breathe freely. So ask yourself honestly, are you living for applause or for alignment? Because if you're chasing applause, you'll always feel behind. But if you're living in alignment, even your silence will echo with power. Let go of the need to be seen, and you'll finally see yourself. Not as a version shaped by others, but as the mountain you've always been. Unshakable, quietly powerful, completely enough. 6. The whatever mindset and how it changes everything. You don't need to control everything to be at peace. In fact, the more you try to manage, fix, and force life into your image of how it should be, the more chaotic your inner world becomes. But there's a mindset, quiet, powerful, deeply liberating, that shifts the entire game. It's the whatever mindset. Not from apathy, but from a place of grounded wisdom. Whatever happens, happens. I remain. That's not giving up. That's anchoring yourself in something deeper than outcomes. Life is unpredictable by nature. Plans fall apart. People change. Dreams evolve. The mind wants to panic, scramble for control, demand certainty, resist what is. But what if peace wasn't about everything going your way, but about your ability to stay unmoved when it doesn't? Like the wind flowing around the mountain, not fighting it. The mountain doesn't flinch. It doesn't argue. It just remains. This mindset, this whatever consciousness, is not indifference. It's spiritual confidence. It's knowing that you can handle life as it is, not just when it's convenient. It's being rooted in your truth, even when the ground feels like it's shifting. And in that grounded space, you begin to see clearly. You stop overreacting. You stop making everything so personal. You start choosing your peace over your pride. Try practicing radical neutrality. Next time someone says something triggering, pause. Observe your reaction instead of obeying it. Ask, does this need a response or just my awareness? In chaos, whisper to yourself, this doesn't define me, because it doesn't. Your value isn't tied to how smoothly life unfolds. It's revealed in how calmly you hold yourself when it doesn't. Use humor as a spiritual tool. When something goes wrong, laugh gently, shrug a little. Ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? Probably not. So don't give it 5 hours of your peace. Sometimes peace is found not in answers, but in letting go of the need to have them. Can you remain calm while everything changes? That's the question. Because if your peace depends on stability, you'll never have it. But if your peace is built on presence, surrender, and inner steadiness, then no storm can uproot you. The whatever mindset doesn't make you passive. It makes you powerful. Because when you stop needing things to be a certain way, you begin to live in harmony with life itself. You stop resisting. You start flowing. You become the mountain, anchored, steady, unmoved. So the next time life spins sideways, take a breath and say it softly. Whatever happens, happens. I remain. That's not weakness. That's mastery. Because letting go isn't losing control. It's letting life meet you where you truly are. And when you do, everything, clarity, strength, alignment, falls into place. You are not your thoughts. 7. You are not your thoughts. Most people spend their entire lives trapped in a prison with invisible walls. That prison, their own thoughts. We believe every voice in our head is true, every worry, every judgment, every fear. But here's the truth most never realize. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that sees them come and go, just like clouds drifting across an open sky. The sky is never disturbed by the storm. It holds space for it, and then it clears. Observe the mind. Don't obey it. This one shift can change your entire relationship with yourself. There was a time in your life, maybe even now, when a single thought could ruin your whole day. One negative comment, one fearful story, and your whole being would spiral. But what if those thoughts were just habits, not truth? What if they were echoes of old conditioning, not present reality? Thoughts arise automatically. That's not your fault. But identifying with them, that's where suffering begins. You are not the voice that says, I'm not good enough. You are the one hearing that voice. And when you stop attaching to it, something incredible happens. Freedom. Try watching your thoughts like weather. The next time your mind races, don't fight it. Just notice, like a bird watching the clouds. Say silently, this is just thinking. Then return to breath, to this moment, to your body. You'll begin to see how much noise your mind creates just to feel safe. But awareness doesn't need to feel safe. It just is. Quiet, still, whole. Label your patterns. That voice that says you're behind in life. That's not insight, that's programming. Ask yourself, is this helpful or just habitual? Most thoughts aren't useful, they're recycled. They come from fear, from ego, from the past. They don't deserve your obedience. They just want your attention. When you let go of needing every thought to make sense or be acted upon, something softens inside. You stop trying to manage every moment. You stop controlling your mind like a dictator. And that's when the real shift happens. Because clarity isn't something you think your way into. It arises when the mind gets quiet enough to listen. When you stop chasing thoughts and start witnessing them, peace becomes possible. This is the heart of mindfulness and of Buddhist wisdom. The Buddha taught not to destroy the mind, but to understand it, to observe its nature like you'd watch a river flow without getting swept away. Every time you pause and say, "I'm not my thoughts," you take your power back. You return to the stillness beneath the storm. So today, ask yourself, what thoughts have I mistaken for truth? And then go deeper. Am I the thinker or the awareness behind the thought? You are the sky, vast, open, untouched by the weather that passes through. And the moment you stop fighting the clouds, everything begins to fall into place. 8. Surrender is a superpower. There comes a moment when your strength is not measured by how tightly you hold on, but by how softly you let go. That's the moment when everything shifts. Because what if surrender isn't weakness? What if it's your greatest superpower? Imagine a boat struggling to row against a fierce current. No matter how hard it pushes, it stays stuck, or worse, gets dragged under. But the moment it stops fighting, the river carries it. That's what surrender does. Surrender is not giving up. It's giving in to what already is. Most of us live in resistance. We push against outcomes, cling to plans, wrestle with the unknown, and call it ambition. But deep down, we're just afraid. Afraid of losing control, afraid of being seen as weak. But here's the truth. Control is an illusion, and resistance is exhausting. Surrender doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop suffering over what's not in your hands. You take action from clarity, not chaos. You move with life, not against it. Ask yourself right now, where am I forcing something that no longer flows? Maybe it's a relationship, a job, or a dream that's changed form. Are you rowing in circles out of fear of drifting, or are you ready to trust the current? Try this. Breathe in deeply and say, "I don't know, and that's okay." Feel the freedom in that. Feel the space it creates. You don't need to have all the answers to take the next step. You just need to stop gripping so tightly. The most powerful moments in your life likely didn't come from planning. They came when you least expected, when you surrendered, when you said, "I can't force this anymore." And suddenly, the right person appeared. The decision became clear. The path unfolded. That's not coincidence. That's clarity being allowed to rise from stillness. When the mind stops struggling, life begins to speak. In Buddhism, surrender is not a passive act. It's active trust. Trust in the impermanence of things. Trust in the wisdom of now. Trust that life is not something to conquer, but to align with. Even the Buddha said that clinging is the suffering. Letting go isn't failure. It's freedom. It's the doorway to peace. So ask yourself today, what am I still fighting that no longer serves me? Is it a version of yourself you've outgrown, an outcome you're obsessed with, an identity rooted in fear? Maybe, just maybe, surrender is the bridge to your next level. The moment you stop demanding that life be something else, you start living in what it already is. And that's where all the magic happens. Let go of the outcome. Anchor into the action. Do your part, then release the rest. That's not laziness. It's alignment. That's not apathy. It's inner peace. How much peace could you gain by simply surrendering the fight? Because when you finally let go, everything falls into place. 9. Embrace groundlessness. There's a quiet fear many never name, the fear of groundlessness. That in-between space where nothing feels solid, where identities dissolve and plans fall apart. And yet, that space is exactly where transformation begins. Like a tree surrendering its leaves in autumn, growth demands we let go before we bloom. But we cling, we grip to what we know. Titles, routines, relationships, definitions of who we're supposed to be. Not because they're true, but because they feel familiar. Certainty becomes a comfort zone, but truth lives in uncertainty. There's a reason so many feel stuck right now. It's not because they're doing the wrong thing. It's because they're trying to control what cannot be controlled. They're waiting for life to become predictable before they move forward. But the deeper wisdom is this: groundlessness is not the problem, it's the portal. The cocoon doesn't promise a butterfly, it just asks the caterpillar to dissolve. In the same way, your next evolution doesn't need your certainty, it needs your surrender. Can you trust yourself even when the ground shifts beneath you? Think about the most pivotal moments in your life. Were they planned, or were they born from chaos? From the very moments you thought you were falling apart. Sometimes falling apart is falling into place, but only if you stop resisting. Sit with the unknown. Let it be uncomfortable. Let it stretch you, break you open. Strip away what was never truly yours. Don't rush to fill the silence with answers. Let it speak. We've been taught to fear not knowing. But in Buddhist practice, groundlessness is sacred. It's the space where ego dies and truth emerges. It's where attachments loosen and the self remembers its depth. When you no longer need everything to make sense, you become powerful. Because you're no longer negotiating with life. You're meeting it fully, without guarantees, without scripts, just presence. Try this. Next time life feels unstable, pause and breathe. Say to yourself, this too is part of the path. You're not lost, you're being remade. Stop asking for the map. Become the explorer. Let life shake you. Then watch what stays standing. Often it's not what you expected, but it's what's real. And what's real will never abandon you. Ask yourself, are you clinging to certainty or evolving through chaos? Do you trust the unfolding, or are you still trying to rewrite what already is? Growth is not about holding it all together. It's about falling apart with grace. Let the leaves fall. Let the old identity dissolve. Let yourself be bare. Because only in that openness can something new take root. When you stop chasing the ground beneath you, you realize you are the ground. You are the stillness in the storm. So don't fear the unknown. Embrace it. That's where your next chapter lives. That's where your freedom begins. When you finally let go of needing the ground to stay still, everything starts to rise from within. 10. Let the moment lead. Imagine a river flowing effortlessly, never questioning its path, never struggling against the bends or obstacles in its way. It simply moves, responding to the landscape, adapting to every turn, every rise and fall. This is the essence of letting the moment lead. The ultimate act of surrender that doesn't mean giving up, but means becoming a student of life itself. When you cling to control, trying to micromanage your career, your emotions, your identity, you pull yourself out of the only place where peace and purpose truly exist. The present moment. You get stuck, managing the moment instead of living it. But what if you stopped scripting your every step and instead asked, what is life asking of me right now? What if, instead of rushing ahead or retreating in fear, you paused and let the moment be your guide? There's power in interrupting autopilot. The mind loves to replay the past or forecast the future, but it rarely lives fully here. When you catch yourself pushing through life as if it's a series of boxes to tick or problems to fix, stop. Breathe. Ask yourself, what is life asking of me now? This question shifts your attention away from control and toward curiosity. It opens space for unexpected answers, fresh perspectives, and new paths you hadn't considered.
You might be facing
because you were
delays,
too busy trying to force the outcome, or
disappointments,
detours that feel frustrating or unfair. But what if those delays are divine? What if the moments you want to skip or fast forward through hold the very lessons or healing you need? When you surrender to timing, not your timing, but life's timing, you align with a deeper intelligence. Instead of fighting against the current, you float with it, trusting that every moment carries wisdom if you're willing to listen. Ask yourself, what wisdom does this moment hold if I stop trying to skip it? When you stop resisting, the moment reveals its gifts, sometimes clarity, sometimes healing, sometimes simply peace. And peace is the foundation from which everything else flows. When you're grounded in the present, your purpose becomes clearer. The chaos around you no longer drags you under because you're anchored in the now. Living the moment means embracing uncertainty without panic, acting without clinging, and being fully present even when life feels overwhelming. It's not about passivity, but about radical engagement with what is, rather than what you wish were. You begin to see that control was always an illusion, and that true mastery is in flow, not force. So what happens when you stop managing the moment and start living it? Everything falls into place. Your career, your identity, your emotional balance all begin to align naturally because you're no longer swimming upstream. You're riding the current. You become like the river, strong yet flexible, grounded yet free. And in this flow, you discover the effortless ease of a life lived in harmony with the moment, where peace and purpose coexist, and where you finally let go. So everything truly falls into place. 11. Release the need to fix everything. Trying to fix everything all at once is like attempting to mend the ocean with a tiny spoon, exhausting, impossible, and draining your very spirit. We often carry this hidden burden, believing it's our job to patch every crack in relationships, careers, or even within ourselves. But here's a truth that sets you free. Not everything broken needs your glue. Letting go means releasing the illusion that you are responsible for fixing others or controlling situations beyond your reach. This is not about giving up. It's about discerning what truly belongs to you and what doesn't. Imagine how much peace you could gain by stepping back and recognizing where your responsibility ends and another's growth begins. Take a moment before reacting. Breathe deeply and choose presence over pressure. This simple pause creates space between impulse and action, allowing clarity to emerge. Ask yourself gently, is this mine to fix or theirs to grow from? This question is a powerful boundary setter, reminding you that growth is often uncomfortable, even messy, but necessary for transformation. When you try to rescue everyone or control every outcome, you inadvertently stunt not only their growth, but your own. Your silence, your willingness to hold space without interference can be more powerful than any solution you impose. Consider the emotional overwhelm you might be feeling now. Is it because you've been carrying more than your share? You may feel obligated to keep it together for others, to smooth every ripple in your career or life transitions. But what if the you're seeking is blocked by this very need to fix? What if surrendering this urge to control doesn't mean weakness, but strength? Strength to let life flow naturally and trust that others have their own journeys to navigate. There's profound freedom in releasing the fixer role. It allows you to redirect your energy inward, focusing on your healing, your clarity, and your purpose. You become a witness rather than a rescuer, a compassionate observer rather than a frantic problem solver. This shift opens a calm space within, a quiet center where you no longer feel pressured to carry the W of the world on your shoulders. The moment you accept that you cannot fix everything, a transformation begins. You start to see that growth unfolds in its own time, and sometimes the best support you offer is simply to be present without interference. Like a tree standing firm in the storm, your grounded presence is a source of strength, not because you control the winds, but because you don't resist them. So ask yourself, what piece are you blocking by trying to hold it all together? What if your silence, your trust, your willingness to let go is exactly what's needed for you and for those around you? When you finally release this need to fix everything, the currents of life shift. You step into a flow where everything begins to fall into place naturally, and the exhausting spoon finally rests. Bonus lesson. The art of doing less, being more. Imagine a lotus blooming, not by frantic effort, but by surrendering to the stillness of the water beneath it. This is the art of doing less and being more. In a world focused on hustle, success, and constant movement, we often forget something important. Just being is enough. When you finally release the urge to always prove yourself by doing, you make room for your true self to come forward naturally. Real growth doesn't happen by trying harder. It starts in the calm surrender to the present moment. Try this. Spend a few minutes each day in quiet, without distractions or plans. Let the noise in your mind settle, like dust sinking in still water. Notice how your body relaxes, how your breathing becomes slower, and how your nervous system starts to calm. This isn't laziness or escape. It's a vital practice of coming back to who you are. When you stop doing all the time, you begin to truly be. And from that state of being, right actions come on their own. Ask yourself, what if I stopped pushing and simply trusted who I am? What if the endless race to prove your worth, your value, or your identity is just a story you've heard, but no longer need to follow? In the quiet, there's nothing to fix or perform. You no longer have to carry the burden of pressure, fear, or expectations. Silence reveals a deep truth. You are already enough. Who are you when there's nothing you need to do? This question leads you to real freedom. When you're not driven by the urge to achieve or control, you begin to notice the peace beneath all the noise. You realize that your worth isn't found in what you do, but in who you are. This changes everything, from how you view yourself to how you connect with the world. The habit of constant doing fades, and presence becomes your strongest state. In this stillness, life begins to move in surprising ways. New paths open, ideas flow, and answers show up. Not because you chase them, but because you made space for them to arrive. Doing less is not about stepping away from life. It's about going deeper into it. It's about trusting the way things unfold instead of clinging to results. It's about being the steady center in the chaos, the one who creates from peace. So ask yourself, what are you trying to prove that silence hasn't already confirmed? What weight could you set down if you truly believed that your essence is enough? When you finally release the need to do more, you allow life to come together. Not through effort, but through your presence. In this letting go, you blossom like a lotus, beautiful, whole, and deeply at peace. The illusion of control shows us why surrender works. Trying to manage everything only brings stress and frustration. Life moves more smoothly when you stop fighting it and let it unfold on its own. Surrender doesn't mean giving up, it means having trust in the journey. Peace comes not from holding on, but from letting go. The paradox of detachment is this: real detachment gives you power by freeing your actions from desperate outcomes. When you stop being emotionally tied to the result, you gain peace, focus, and presence. You act from strength, not fear. Detachment welcomes what control usually drives away. How overthinking pushes away what you truly want. Overthinking fills your mind with noise, blocking your clarity and intuition. Letting go of those endless thoughts brings you back to inner peace. Clarity doesn't come from thinking more, it comes from quiet awareness. Stillness is the hidden power. Why caring too much can backfire. Overcaring often comes from fear instead of love. When you care too much, you lose yourself in the result or in trying to please others. Healthy love grows in freedom and space. Letting go helps your relationships and your energy to flourish. What shifts when you stop chasing validation? When you no longer rely on others for approval, you reclaim your inner strength. Your value isn't measured by praise or opinions. The urge to impress fades as you begin living true to yourself. Validation turns inward. The whatever mindset. Adopting a whatever happens mindset builds emotional strength. It helps you move through change, setbacks, and chaos with steady calm. Indifference isn't weakness. It's strength rooted in inner peace. This mindset protects your focus and your energy. You are not your thoughts. Most thoughts are automatic and often untrue. When you stop attaching to them, you discover you're the awareness behind them. This brings emotional space from pain and negativity. Letting go of thoughts brings freedom. Surrender becomes your strength. Surrender isn't weakness. It's accepting what's out of your control. This releases emotional tension and allows life to shift in surprising ways. When you flow with life, you stop creating extra pain. Surrender is hidden strength. Welcome groundlessness. Letting go of certainty and comfort opens the door to change. Real growth often starts in the uneasy unknown. The moment you stop fearing the unknown, you begin to truly trust yourself. Groundlessness becomes the path for inner growth. Let each moment guide you. Life happens now, not in your plans. When you drop the script and become fully present, clarity comes back. Every moment holds wisdom if you slow down and pay attention. Presence is where true alignment begins. Let go of the urge to fix everything. You're not here to save or repair everyone and everything. Releasing this weight brings peace to your mind and room back into your life. Often, being present is more powerful than trying to fix. Your peace is more important than your control. The art of less doing, more being. Stillness can change more than endless effort. When you stop needing to always act, your deeper self finally has space to rise. Being truly present is enough. Real fulfillment comes from living in alignment, not from constant productivity. You don't gain control by holding on tighter. You gain it by letting go of the illusions that weigh you down. Life isn't something to force, chase, or fix. It's something to live with presence, courage, and trust. The moment you stop clinging is the moment real living begins. True strength doesn't come from force, but from surrender. Not the surrender of weakness, but of ego, fear, and the need to control. When you release what you can't control, you begin shaping your inner world with clarity and calm. And slowly, the outer world responds. Let go of needing to be liked, to be perfect, or to always be right. Instead, root yourself in your truth, your stillness, and your deep inner knowing. From that place, the right actions come on their own. You don't chase alignment, you become aligned. That's where true success begins. Zen reminds us that bamboo bends with the wind, not because it's weak, but because it's flexible. Be like the bamboo. Bend, flow, let go, and rise stronger, more peaceful and calm. You were never meant to control the storm. You were meant to find your peace within it. If this message touched you, please like and share it with someone who might need it. Share your thoughts and journey in the comments. We read them all. And don't forget to subscribe to Buddha's Eternal Wisdom for more uplifting Buddhist teachings on living a calm and powerful life.